Hello, it's Ilkka Tengval here. This time I was writing a blog about how to use Ansible and Podman to verify Ansible roles, which I have written or my customer will write. This was actually a real use case of a customer taking Ansible into use widely in their organization, and there will be different kind of people writing Ansible models, and we want to ensure that those models are uniform, they look the same, they feel the same, and they importantly they do work. So how to verify such like a variety of Ansible roles? I approached the case with using Podman and containers because that's a lightweight solution to do it. So let's look about a little bit what the environment looks like. So I have this set up in a RHEL 8 virtual machine, and you can read about this in the blog. I will put the link in here, but this is just to add on to that blog. So what I do in the blog, I first of all set up my Python virtual environment. And within my Python virtual environment, let's see what kind of pods I have running. What pods I have running. I have no pods running at the moment, so no containers running at the moment. And I have this directory here called molecule Ansible. That's what's the virtual environment for Python. For this exercise, I describe how to build it in the blog. See it from there. So let's get some let's get the example out from the GitHub. So let's go to this molecule Podman blog. I have here this kind of structure. I have this simple FTP model in here, and the customer case in this case is that this is part of their security baseline, that they have a security tool that checks that certain components are installed but disabled. It's a bit funny that it's installed, but in this case they need to have it installed so their security check tool works. So this is a good real use case from the real life. So let me go into this FTP directory, and like you see, there is this molecule directory in here. This is normally not in the Ansible role when you init Ansible role, but there is this molecule command for init which creates you the role and adds these molecule bits in here. So let's look a bit into this molecule directory. So what we have here is this, first of all, this converged file. This is the one that tells how this pod will be, how this container will be built. I mean, what happens after the container is built. So I want to include my role, which we are testing in this case, the FTP one. So it's just basically, it does nothing more than it tells to use, first of all, this RHEL 8 basic platform Python, and then because I don't have Python installed there, and then I use this FTP model for it, FTP role for it. Okay, so let's then see what happens next. Molecule default. I have this molecule YAML which defines the tests. It's described in the blog. First of all, I have the Podman as a driver. So often you have here, for example, Vagrant, or you have Docker in there. But in this case, I don't want to run Docker or Vagrant because I don't want to be root. I want to be able to install this anywhere within any CI/CD system as a regular user, and that's what Podman allows me to do. Then I set up this init container. So this is just universal base image from Red Hat, which contains the init system so that I can test the roles that they set up certain services to be running, or shut down the services or whatnot. The system does stuff. I don't want to build the image in here. I could do it, but I use this pre-built image because no reason to build the image here. There are existing one already. And then this is something for the system D to work. I allow it to be root in the container, and it runs the init like I said. And what's important here that I use Ansible as a provisioner or verifier. So I don't use the test infra or any such other test system which was earlier used for Ansible role testing, but nowadays you can just use Ansible for testing that role. It's super simple and nice. And then here are some things that this came out of the box. So basically I checked the code syntax and some other stuff. Flake checks other like things also, but let's not get in there. That's subject of another blog. And then I have the list of actions what I want to do in here. I skip the dependencies and prepares because we don't need those in this case. Okay, so that's the molecule, how to set it up. Now it knows to use Ansible and Podman. And let's see how the test looks like. Molecule, default, verify. This is where the test is. So this is what the test looks like. I run Ansible again like I would do installing the package. But in this case, I have the check mode on, so it doesn't actually install anything. It just checks. So I want to tell Ansible that see what would happen if you would install the FTP server and register the results. But don't actually do it. Just check what happens. And now I use this result in the next assertion here that I want to see if the previous task had to change anything. As I told it to install FTP server, and if it needs to install, it's a failure. So it shows that my model did not install it originally. If it didn't need to install anything, it shows that it's a success, so that my previous FTP role, which we are testing, actually did its job and installed the model. And also, not model, but service. Then there is another step. You can go and check this test. It just verifies that whether the service is running and is it enabled, and then checks later on that if it was active or enabled or not. Okay, so that's what the test looks like. So let's then look a bit what the Podman looks like. So we don't have any pods running at the moment, and I can use molecule. Well, let's run the test so you see what's the simplest part. Molecule test. This is what it takes to run that test. Let's wait a bit now. It's starting the container, downloads the image, starts the container. Make sure, okay, it starts with distro. So if there was a previous instance, it would destroy it. Now it's building the container, it's installing the FTP role. This is the part from the actual FTP role, which you can check from the GitHub. The blog, by the way, will have all the links to all these materials and also to this video. It takes a moment to... This is an empty container, kind of. It just has the very basic skeleton of Red Hat Enterprise Linux. And now it installs the FTP server. It shouldn't take long. At the beginning, you actually see here that it runs those language checks. So it runs the linter and Ansible linter and Flake. And after it's done with the tests, actually here we got result. Here are the tests. And no, sorry, that's not yet the test. That's actually the installer. Now it starts the test. Check if FTP is installed. This is coming now from the verify.yaml. Okay, it was a success, it was installed. It checks whether it was disabled. It was disabled, it's a success. And as a test result, I write here that test is okay. And now it tears down the system and destroys the pod. Pod means container, actually, in this case, for those who are not familiar with the terms. And again, I look, there is no such pod anymore existing. What about if I want to see how that inside those steps, that if I want to, for example, see how did the converts work, how did it install the model, or what does the container look like before the tests are run. So I could just do that, like molecule converge, for example. This now starts the pod, and it installs the stuff like I've defined, that it installs the FTP server in there. But then it stops there and it doesn't run any of the tests because I didn't tell it so. So this is nice for debugging. I get into the middle of the process. Let's wait it to be done. This takes a moment again because remember it starts from scratch. So the container was actually destroyed in the between. While it's building it, I could tell that we are now testing just one container type, but if you would do this in real life, you probably would test also other systems than just the RHEL. And in that case, I would go to Jeff Gerling's repository for different kind of containers with init systems, for example. Okay, now we are done with the setup, and I can now log into the pod. Now I'm in the pod. If you look, I don't know what is there to see. This is just the pod etc Red Hat release. So we are in the Red Hat RHEL 8.2. Okay, let's get out of here. We are done with it. And now if I look from Podman, I can see that this is actually now running here. And I could treat it as any other pod. I could do whatever I need to that instance if I so wish. I could also now modify my test script. If I'm writing it, I would do actually molecule verify. I would run the test. This just runs the test. It doesn't do the lints. It doesn't set up the container. It expects it's running already. It does the test. It checks the VSFTPD in this case. And so it's done rather soon. And after we are done with the test, I'm happy with it. I could actually go into the container again, modify something, check things if I so wish, check Ansible variables if I so wish. But now I'm done with the container, so I'll just destroy it. It could have again some cleanup tasks. I don't need those. Again, looking at it, we don't have the container anymore, so we are done with it. So that's pretty much it. This is how it works. It's really, really, really simple. Again, let's look at the playbook. If I look at the verify, this is how simple it is to run the tests, because you can just write Ansible. Like if you are familiar writing Ansible roles, what could be easier than also writing the tests in Ansible? Probably in real life, I would put here also this URL model to check if the port 21 answers or something like that. But this is enough for this simple blog case. Alrighty, that's it. Go read the blog. The stuff is in GitHub. Check out the Jeff's videos I mentioned and link in the blog. They are great for this stuff. Okay, thanks.